Welcome to the FUJI LORI TITI podcast show. My name is Timileyin Ogundare. I'm here with the man. Uh, how did they talk that thing? The myth. I be the man. I be the legend. I'm here with the Jide Taiwo. It's just we are going to do a lot of mixture of English and in fact I want to speak Yoruba more because I kind of I feel like I should speak Yoruba more, but anytime I'm talking a lot I do English. I hope that I'll do a lot of Yoruba. So ẹ káàbọ̀ sí Fuji.
Eshigo, when you say the man to meet the legend, that's scary. I'm just a man. I'm just a guy.
No,
I'm just a guy.
You're a legend in
But,
this thing.
Funny enough, I was telling my wife the other day. So I went someplace and some guy was greeting me, OG. And usually I reject those terms, right? Because you're making me old. But I looked at the audience that I was in. I was like, I'll take it. I'll take it. But I won't take. I won't take legend. It's such a pleasure to be here with you. I saw one or two things.
So I'm at missing different sections.
Gotcha.
So the first section is I want to talk about yourself. So I'll just do a general talk about yourself. Then I also already some of I want to wait
The burning issues.
and then
Gotcha.
we'll not come back to. But I want to first know about you.
Right.
So báwo lẹ máa ń sọ kínní ẹ̀ ibo bí yín sí ibo lẹ dàgbà sí.
Ibadan. I was born and raised in Ibadan. I grew up in Ibadan, and I still have love for that city, right? But I knew when I was 5-6 years old that there were a lot of things I wanted to do that I didn't think Ibadan held that opportunity for me. And it's crazy because we come to Lagos every time, to come and see my cousins. Tabade is in Loliba, you know them about me. Because it just felt like there wasn't anything happening. For instance, Tabawa concern, I'm our enter to Channel 5, I'm our NTA 10, I'm our LTV. And on Fridays, LTV used to have double movies to last into LWT. So we start watching films from like 9 or 10 to like 1, for a kid. That was incredible. And then I'll go back to Ibadan that we had only 2 TV stations, BCOS as NTA. We had 2 radio stations, BCOS radio and FRC and Okogona about So, but I grew up. Ibadan was a great place to be in the 80s and early 90s. It didn't have the pressure of Lagos, but it had the stability of a small town. My mother worked in the bank, so it was pretty, an average type thing. We didn't have a lot of money, but we could travel, we could wear clothes, so that's kind of like the era that I was born in. One of the other things that really struck out to me was my mother wanted me to go to a regular school.
Okay.
Right.
What do you mean regular school?
So I went to a private primary school. By the time it was time for common entrance, again, this was a lifetime ago. This was 1993-ish. My mother felt like I was young because I had had double promotion at some point, So when all my friends were writing common entrance, my mother was like, no, Mark, I'm primary 6 now. And then at the time, so she worked in the bank. One of our orgas and mentors had become a king, had started a school in Ijesha. And they said, no, Mrs. Taiwo, no, let your son come, And it was a big school. I'm like, free flowing, it wasn't law, luxury. But my mother was like, I don't think you're grown enough for that, Kenny. Eventually she caved in, but she wanted me around. So I went to Ibadan Grammar School that was 10 minutes away from my house. It was the first time I'll experience a culture shock. Because even though I didn't grow up in a sheltered home like that, my mother she'll tell me, go and play outside, come back when it's 5 o'clock. So we were not sheltered like that. But again, living that, for lack of a better word, kind of like Ajabota Society family to go to Ibadan Grammar School, it was a culture shock. The culture shock was that, number one, there were folks in my class that were much older, that were from working class. The girl that sat next to me, I remember her name, but I won't say it now, so it's not like I'm putting her on blast. She'll finish school on my Lord Kiri. It was great. Like, I just couldn't
Yeah, like
get it. Like,
yeah.
how
Yeah.
people did this.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like how I grew up. So all of the things that inspired me, television, music, media, Ibadan didn't have them at the time, and I just couldn't wait to not to be out, but to be able to do the things that I wanted to do. Yeah, so that's kind of like the background that I have.
I feel like Muni similar story
Oh yeah.
in terms of the shock that I experienced when I changed. So when I grew up, I used to go to primary school in a private school where we were 8 in the class. And I was very young, very young. But school bus would take me to
Right.
fro back to my father's house that was a gated compound. The only social kind of activity that I knew was church. So I would go to church. In fact, at those times, everybody would call me pastor because that was the only thing I knew. And, I would take, the only thing I was reading was English textbook. All
Right.
the English textbooks we had at those times. I would read the entire thing the day he was born.
Wow.
And so my father looked at me and kind of felt like I was just, because when you look at my report cards, they were like 100, 100, 100, 100, 100, 100. So my father kind of felt like he's just wasting away in primary school. So in primary 4, my father said, let's take you to secondary school. Now, that thing still affects me till today. It totally changed my life. In the sense pé mo kúrò ní ibi tí school bus ti ń gbé mi lọ tó ti ń gbé mi bọ̀. Ta jẹ́
Right.
8 in class.
Right.
My mom used to be a teacher at Veterans Grammar School, Lagege.
Right.
So she felt, because this boy is young and we are taking him to secondary school, I want him in a place where we would see him. So she took me to a public school. For the first time, I saw 80 people in a class.
Exactly.
In fact, I will shock you. People hear my Yoruba say, Yoruba again, they know. But do you know that up to my secondary school, me, I saw Yoruba.
Oh wow.
Nobody will stand for Yoruba for me. I go to school, come back home. And me class captain, Timon call vernacular. You speak vernacular. So I didn't even understand anything. I didn't want to speak it. But mo dé Veteran níbi tí àwọn 80 wà. All of a sudden, gbogbo àwọn tó bá wà important sí mi yẹn pé ta ló this mass, who got it? Nobody was talking about mass.
Right.
For the first time, I was seeing girls and people were like talking about girls. And I was like,
Yeah.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
I used to take food flags. All of a sudden, there was no food flag. They would give me money. My life, that took the tragedy of my life. It trajectory from the nerd, because I think I would have grown up a nerd because that's the only thing I knew. And those are kind of like my brothers. Those are how they grew up. But me, the tragedy was just funny. When we left, because my mom was taking me everywhere. I went to about 5 secondary schools.
Oh wow.
Because once she gets
Yeah.
transferred, she moves. So she's like, okay, we're moving. It got worse. Today, Veteran is a model school. Veteran in public schools. Veteran is the private school of public schools.
Yeah.
So we moved to Jayodokoro. From the name alone, we were like 120.
Yeah.
120 GSS. I remember I was in GSS 2D. So for you to know, at the 120, GSS 2D, GSS 2C, one A, B.
Like that. Yeah.
We had a football field that was bigger than this entire compound. It was so interesting.
Yeah.
And I was in the middle of people. I remember that there was this guy called Awilo. They would go and fight with Olokada.
Yeah.
I remember that there were times police would come to our school. One massage. That was the first time that I could relate with Benga Deboye's Ada UTC, Ada Lamo. That was the first time I was seeing things called UTC, UTC, and all that from DSS2 students.
Yeah. I mean, it tells you, and not to be political or anything. Yes, we want our country to get better. I think we've gotten better in some places. We've gotten worse in some other places. things like that. I don't know, maybe because I'm disconnected now. It was normal for kids to have UTC in their bag. Igba yẹn Ìbàdàn, a máa lọ wo principal's call. And that one was major fight.
Okay.
You have for a long time, I thought the word was machinery because they were much older. Okay, machine or if you play ball. I didn't know that they meant mercenaries, but they were actual mercenaries who were not students, who had no ties to the school,
but
except for the fact that you could hire them
to play for
you and fight for you. You know, so when I look at all those things, what it does to a young mind, and again, sometimes I think I don't believe in luck, but I think sometimes we're lucky because if you think about people that are in your class that you grew up with, some just went a certain way, and for some reason you didn't go that route. You know, it's one of those things that there's nothing. I'm a parent now, and I worry because I know the things that I did, you know, as a kid. And there's nothing you can do except that your child just chooses to behave, and hopefully to take the lessons you've taught them.
Totally.
Because
why do you have two children from the same home, the same lessons, the same and they turn out very differently?
Completely different, you know. So when I think about those things like that, it just helps to put a parallel to see what it looks like. What a man that can more be life sharing. You can't be protected all your life because life is vicious. The world is a wicked place. So if you are not hip to the fact that you've got to do things certain ways,
I think my own was just too much for me. It was
well, that's a lot. Five secondary schools.
You know, it was eventually I moved to private. You know, I think when I got to SS, my mom said, okay,
you can't do this.
You can't do this.
Your life is ahead of you.
You know, like with the experience you have, like what we were doing at that time, where because you know how old I was at that time. I was very young. In fact, when I tell people how old I was when I wrote YF, people will be like, "How?" Because I was so young. Those were the things that interest me. But I was school. Wow. You know, it wasn't or Joseph also for me. I don't know Bible color interest me. But you say class me you know that was more interesting. You know, and when people come to me and say, "Hello, Jalano, I phone about blow." That's more interesting. Don't tell me about algebra.
Now imagine that you didn't have your family set up.
Despite the fact that I don't know if anybody knows how, if you're in a public school and you're on multi-teacher, it gives every Dick and Harry access to beat you.
Oh yeah.
You will just be Ogundare, come here. Ogundare. So I think those things kind of you know, because and my mom was quite popular, very loud Ijesha woman. So everybody knew her.
What do you mean? What do you mean? My wife is Ijesha. I take exception to that.
So everywhere, I'm Ogundare. So I couldn't. So I think that kind of guided me, and helped balance because things I wanted to do, I couldn't do them. So I was hearing them, you know. But I just chipped in that in because when I learned of that, the kind of culture shock that you had, you know, growing in Ibadan grammar school. I think there's this. Well, in COVID, there was this very funny viral video that happened that these guys were rapping on this beat. Better on my AGS. Better on my IGS.
Yeah. Well, that's the fake IGS. Shout out to them again.
What do you mean fake?
That's the school that my wife went to, Gomode Grammar School.
Okay.
That's in Otta.
Okay, that's not Ibadan.
That's
I shall know his IGS. So I shall know it was very that's better on my IGS.
I mean, I still troll her with that video. And come to think of it, when she went, Igomode again was like the private school or the public school, you know, well behaved. You had to be there a certain time. But look how things have happened. You know, my father had the house behind that I went recently. And I was just seeing kids just meander all over the place. I'm like, this is not what I heard, you know. And I would think that the world has changed now, but again, I mean, we'll speak about it. There are certain things that we should do as a people, as a government that we're not doing. And okay, I'll give you an example before we move on. During COVID, when there was an attack on the Oba of Lagos Palace, Her Highness Erelu Kuti, you know, was interviewed, And she said something very, very instructive that I've not forgotten. I think the interview was on Channels. And she said that she's been complaining for years that you just come to the palace and you find young men just loitering around.
No, nothing.
And they had gotten progressively worse that you were now seeing school age children just loitering around. That
In
it
school
was-
hours.
Yes, in school hours. It was bound to happen that there will be that restiveness, because when people are in their formative years, they don't have anything they're doing with their time. I mean, when you are now, I don't do it, but when I was in my early 20s, I could function on 3-4 hours of sleep a day. I never used to sleep in the afternoon. Like, I'm good. I had energy.
You always wonder how when I look at kids, I'm like,
Yes, how?
Because I'm a log babolu.
Yes.
Like, do you understand? My parents will leave home in the morning. My dad log babolu lati àárọ̀.
Yep.
Until when I look at them, I know that my
Exactly.
mommy is coming. I will not eat.
Exactly. That's the kind of energy that you have as a child, as a young person. If it's not being harnessed, for good, people will just go insane. I remember when there were these riots in London a few years ago. They just looked at it. Yeah, it was in summer. Kids were out of school. A lot of after-school programs are closed. So boys were just there.
Yeah, no, just chilling.
Energy, nothing to do. And then, it just goes on like that. But anyway, we'll digress.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm just trying. But how did you get? What was your first exposure to music?
My first exposure to music had to be in my house. My mom was, so I met somebody who I had not seen in about 30 years, who was one auntie. I was in a party and somebody mentioned her name. I'm like, I know that name, and then we spoke. I'm like, we lived in the same area and things. As a matter of fact, I know I tweeted about it once. I met Rashidi Yakini once after the World Cup. Was it after the World Cup? I think it was after the 1994 World Cup. Yeah, was driving a white Benz, came to the neighborhood. He came to see these aunties then. So, like, I remember their names. So we got talking, was like, so I described who I was. I'm not here now. Yeah, that your mom. Mom, I don't sleep. Don't want to shake. So my mom was hip, like that. So she had sisters, nieces, everybody was around. I mean, I must have been 2 that I knew Belinda. Like, that's my earliest memory of music. That and Indian Waka by Salawa Abeni. Like, that's my earliest memory of music. There was always music around my house, my house was never empty. There were children that my mom adopted, one brother's son, one auntie's baby.
It's like a family.
Do you understand?
Family
So
circle.
my house was always, like a revolving door of people coming around, and they were older than me. So, I was exposed to music in that way. So there was a lot of, disco. There was Yoruba music. There was all of these things. My first conscious love or desire for music must have been when I heard Fuji Garbage.
Yeah, that's
Barrister.
80.
Yeah, must have been 80.
Yeah, I think
There
it
were
was
3
before
of
his
them.
birthday, so it
Yeah.
was
87.
86, 87.
87. And you had them in succession like that.
Series 1, Series 2,
Yeah.
Series 3.
Was Fuji Garbage.
Yeah.
Like, my grandmother had a thing for fashion, so when she watch Barrister or Collington, she just go and make the gabardine training for me and all of that. And I remember when I got to primary 1 and they asked me who my favorite artist was, I said Barrister. And they asked me, I said Fuji Garbage. There are people from my primary school that still call me Fuji Garbage, because that's like my first conscious thing. So that's like it. And then I discovered hip hop around 92 or 93.
Yeah.
We had neighbors that were having a party and were playing music. And it was almost like I was in a trance because I couldn't, what is this as I'm hearing? Why are they dancing like this? Like, Like he hit me. So that's like my conscious, introduction to music. And then I started to peel back myself. Just yesterday, I was at a filling station and they were playing an Obey song.
Yeah.
Eko Ila. I told my wife, I said, Emofi KCIG dub last OGBC too. Because it was a great tape. And then, they'll play all this music on OGBC and then we'll just dub it. Okay, cool. So yeah, you can. So yeah, that's like my connection to the music.
Yeah. Why? Because I have a couple of your books here.
Yes, yes.
Sorry. I do have History Made, the most important Nigerian song since 1999, and I have
Right.
K1 the Ultimate. You said that Efila Fumona is
I feel like Fubona was done.
PDF.
It was PDF because I didn't want to cheat the audience. And I'll explain why. I think it's a short book, maybe 70 pages.
No,
You
no.
know, very.
70 pages is a short book.
It is a short book. It's a short book now. It's almost like a chapbook.
I feel like you can compile these things and do a PhD on.
I don't think I have the Aram Yobale. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've thought about it, but I know that it's something that I have to work on. Like, I have to consciously tell myself to see things through. Sometimes, Mama Sorolo, Marty Soton in my head, I won't say it in my mouth, and I've moved on.
Yeah, I do that a lot for messages. I feel like I've replied this message, but
I mean, my wife will say, "You're not saying anything."
someone says that I have ADHD or I'm
It's
on
possible.
spectrum.
It's possible. But I found out later that I might have had it as a child. I knew for sure that I was dyslexic as a child, because any time, I won't figure out like I couldn't explain it until I got older, and then I spoke to people and they helped me. The figures will be dancing. That's what I'm saying. The figures dancing, but goes back to being particular about early childhood, the training, the exposure, and things and of this nature. So yes, the books. I like to think that I'm a nerd, right? Again, so I grew up.
If 70 pages is your short book, that is just what it is.
I'm a nerd. I enjoyed, and I'm not trying to be. Again, I'm able to tell. I like to chop life, so I'm not too good issues. I'm not all that. But at the time, I would rather read a storybook than play video game. Like that was.
That's how much nerd you
Yeah,
are.
so like I enjoyed reading newspapers, rapper, whatever it is, I like reading it. But so at the time that I wrote the first book, History Made, about 5 years ago now, I think we had just finished COVID. No, it was even before COVID. There was a GQ article on whiskey. I mean, it was the early times that all of these mainstream global media platforms were starting to pay particular attention to our music and culture. There was something about the article that just rubbed me the wrong way. It was a very flimsy line, but I felt oh yeah. So they said Wizkid used to be known as Lil Prince, right? And then it was after I had a show in Ghana after his first album that he changed to Wizkid. And I'm like, how the fuck is this possible? Like, how? Me, I remember seeing Wizkid on, must have been AIT Jams, or was a kid at the time. It wasn't AIT Jams. There was another show on Saturday morning on AIT Jams. I think there was a Tipsy Dog. I can't remember. That's my own earliest memory of Wizkid as Lil Prince. By the time he will come out, it was already Wizkid. So why are you telling me 10 years later? Like, how do you mess up these timelines? Right?
I mean, if you don't, it's when they say if you don't write your story, someone writes it.
So that was exact. So I really wanted to bitch about it. Like, Nigerians are not writing about their popular music. They are not writing about this one. I went to a few libraries. There was extensive books from the 70s, early 80s. Nothing from my era. At the time, I had been an entertainment journalist, I had been a media executive, I had worked in music streaming. I had done pretty much the circuit. I was about 10 plus years in. So in my head, if I want to complain, they will now say, so who should do it? It's me, you know. But I also know that the kidney was just too expansive. We had to approach it from a specific angle. And that's why I try to use, 21 songs over that period to chart the course of what eventually became. I'm a very reluctant user of the term Afrobeats. I don't like to use the more possible for right? Because I felt like
do you feel like we need an umbrella name for that?
Now,
I don't know if it's a genre, but like for music that come from outside, do you think that to push it, we need an umbrella name?
Because I reluctantly agree. Yes, in the world as we live in, that we are fighting for attention against a Beyonce, against a Drake, against all the biggest stars in the world, we need an identifier. So if Afrobeats is the term that identifies the music from our side, all right. But I've long thought that you can't call Afrobeats and put it in a box and say, for you to be Afrobeat, you have to sound this certain way. Afrobeats is a lot of things. And in recent months, I think Vector has come up with a definition that I think I'm okay with. If it's a fusion of different genres that still retains its culture and heritage in some form, I can live with that.
Because are we going to call Vector's music Afrobeat?
No.
I mean, we're going to call rap Afro. I think it's very difficult to explain because you want the umbrella to push, but at the same time, you have rappers, you have people who do alternative music, you have them show them camp, you have them.
Are you going to call it Thames Afrobeats?
You have people who actually can compete with like R&B actual.
So that's what I thought, and
we should be trying to compete in the genre that they're actually doing it.
Yes, to be honest, there's no reason to call Wizkid and David anything other than pop music. That what they do is popular
like maybe
music.
Afro. We used to say Afro. I'm not talking Afro pop.
Yes, I mean,
we used to call it Afro pop.
In fact, Niger hip hop, Igbaye, Tobacco people, they will call Two-Face hip hop. Because that was what the curators at the time understood as urban music.
Even when I watch the documentary on Afrobeats, it's still hard to
Which one?
The Ayoshanaya one.
Okay, cool.
It's still hard to pinpoint. Even when I watch the Obiasaka's one, it's still hard to pinpoint at what point did you because all that way at some point but the Ayoshanaya tried to make it look like there was a three beat pattern.
Yeah.
In the 5 beat balance. Sorry.
Yeah.
Which kind of made sense until like 2010, 2013 upward. Because if you look at the music back then, it kind of had that 5 beat pattern to it. It kind of, I mean, if you look at a lot of music, you will still find the the beat. If you look at it had it.
Yeah.
And I think that is when we had more of Fela in the so-called Afro beats.
Right.
Now, I think that we have lost that Fela thing a long time ago. We are doing more of Fuji.
So I didn't know we were going to get here this quickly. Shout out to Ayoshanaya, by the way. I was co-writer on that project. Shout out to Obi Asika and Inze Edkazo. I was on co-writer on that as well, with a bunch of other guys. Why the documentaries they did is so important is because we don't have anything. It's almost like Genesis chapter 1 verse 1. Everything was without form. You had everybody in different pockets doing a lot of things.
Different things.
But we didn't have, and it's difficult for you to talk about something if you've not assembled it. You've
Nothing.
not, you understand? So that's why, and I spoke with a lot of people who didn't agree with the slant of the documentary. And I'm like, Emi Gosimo co-writer, there are things that I don't 100% agree on. However, this man put together a coherent story using himself and his intersection with music.
Yeah, like
it's been a part of it.
Yeah, and
to
he
be
has
honest.
evidence to prove that he has
It's
always been part of it.
So I'm not going to be a hater and say, nah, fuck that shit. You should have put this person, you should have put this person. It's okay. Did we think that Ayo Shonaya, whose name is on the first D'banj album, and his company name, I still remember that CD, R70 is on there. That, and I don't want to speak for them, they can speak about their relationship by themselves. But do you not find it odd that he did a 10-episode documentary? There's no D'banj, there's no Don Jazzy. They can answer those questions yourself, and you can imagine what it could have been, or why, or maybe the timing wasn't right for this person, or this person wasn't available. So, if you find yourself not in the documentary on
there's JJC, there's LD, there's...
So other people, if they are not, by all means, let's tell their stories. And I was saying the other day, there happens, it's almost like there's an obsession to only tell the Afrobeat story from the origin. The origin story is not the only story in Afrobeat. It's not. We've not even told, if we were to do an Alaba documentary spanning over a 5 to 10 year period, you will take like another 5 episodes.
Yeah.
Right? And it's not necessarily the origin.
I kind of was watching Timaya. I think, I don't know who Timaya was talking with. He was talking about how he went to Alaba with his album, and how somebody, and he was willing to sell for some amount. And I feel like Alaba is... I don't know how to place it.
Yeah.
I think because we're so comfortable, everybody is now just streaming on their music. People don't understand
how we got here. So that's a story in itself that needs to be told. So me, as a storyteller myself, I understand when people want to see a complete volume of work.
Which is something, it's very hard. Especially with the resources that you have. It's very hard.
The resources.
Because even no matter how complete it is, I feel like somebody somewhere will still feel like, no, you didn't,
So it's important to write from this person's perspective, write from that other person's perspective. I read 3 books, again, going back to me being a nerd and all. I read Why We Struck, Adekunle about the Nigerian Civil War. I think it was on the other side. I read that. I read Obasanjo's My Command. And many years later, I read Ojuku's own book, Because I'm Involved. I don't have to... One, I wasn't there. I don't have to believe one person over the other. But I could get a variety of takes on the same subject. I also read this guy's book, Max Silobon, Nigerian Soldiers of Fortune, or whatever it is.
Have you read... You should read Brigadier Isama.
Oh yeah, I haven't read that.
Tragedy of Victory.
I haven't read that.
Nobody... I haven't read all of those books. There's no book as detailed.
Oh yeah?
As Tragedy of Victory. Okay. In fact, I think that, because I've watched a lot of his interviews, is one of the most clear-headed persons I've ever seen in my life. His analysis, and he was so lucky, just like our Shonaya, that he had it in pictures. He had over 500 pictures of the war.
Oh wow!
So he somehow mistakenly, he had a camera. Someone had a camera that he wanted to take his own pictures.
And just ended up taking...
So the guy that he gave the camera to started taking random pictures. And he got very angry. In fact, he said he locked him up in the guard room.
Oh, wow.
For that. And then somebody came from England around that time and told him, look, you have great pictures. I'm going to take out these pictures back to England.
Yeah.
So then he's like, oh, where is the guy that took the picture? He has even forgotten him in the guard room. So he had to take him. So those pictures became, because he wrote that book after Obasanjo wrote My Command. And I think he got very angry. Brigadier General Sama, because
I can imagine.
This is just a diversion.
Yeah.
But I don't care. We talk about anything.
Right.
Obasanjo got to the war 6 months before it ended. He started it with Benjamin Adekunle, 3 Marine Commando. They started together for 2.5 years.
Right.
But Adekunle left. They took him away 6 months to the war. So Isama felt like how Godwin, I think his name is Godwin Isama, Godwin Alabi Isama.
Yeah.
He felt like how is somebody who came 6 months to the war was not even in the war front.
Have
You know,
say this
because Obasanjo
definitively.
claims victory for that war.
It's fine.
You know,
fine.
so it feels like a lot of things went on in the war.
Yes.
So if you read, I'm just going to say that
it underscores the point. Like, we need a variety of takes. Agree with one, disagree with one, call one out. But for goodness sakes, let's have people tell.
at least let's read about. So I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of people on the other side of the war,
Yeah.
the Biafra side of the war, I need to read more takes of it.
Right.
Because I have more takes from the Nigerian side.
You don't understand that.
But the takes I see from the other side are from the top level. I kind of want like the people who were actually, do you understand? Actually, what they saw versus what the officers were saying.
I mean, because it's a very sensitive subject, and it's very touchy.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of unresolved.
Yeah, that's why we need those texts, because
So again, it's very sensitive. How do you tell me to tell my story when I'm still feeling aggrieved? There are people who think that at least the government should perhaps apologize or own up to certain things. There are people on the other side that will tell you it was a war. We did what we had to do.
Yeah, but
those are fundamental things that we need to still talk about, because it's very touchy.
maybe the first question will be: should the war have even happened?
I mean,
Isama said something that actually struck me. He said the war only happened because it was a military government. If it was civilian, because the president cannot just go to war. There needs to be,
we've seen it. We've seen the democracy disintegrate in the years leading up to the civil war. But again, let's leave that for the expertise of people who can handle that with appropriate memory and care.
So I want to talk about K1 deal. I mean,
yes, sir.
Before I think this will lead me into conversations about FUJI. Unfortunately, because you are just giving me this book today, I have not read it.
Okay,
but
I can tell you a few things for what to expect.
Yeah, so I think you should, because it's painful, because I should read this book and then now bombard you with questions.
No, I mean, we can have a subsequent, even if you're out of Lagos, we can do Zoom.
Okay, yeah.
Because I'll be happy to hear your thoughts.
Okay. So what first of all, why did you decide to?
The first book that I wanted to write was about Sashino Peters. We had a conversation about it in 2016. It didn't work. Like, that conversation didn't, develop much. And then down the line.
And I feel like you should. I'm going to divert a little bit. I just say you should.
I want to.
Or maybe it should be. But I feel like that costs more, in terms of. But
I mean,
you know why? Because Shino Peter did this interview recently on this podcast where he talked, and then I checked the quotes on Twitter and saw people, and I was so annoyed at the, the lack of. You don't even know your history. And it's not that far history. This is 1989, 1990. So it's not that far.
I'm in a group chat that when the trailer landed, I can show you. I said, this is great. But I'm a little worried that I hope that the hosts have enough context.
They didn't. Unfortunately, I feel like they had a general knowledge of, you don't understand Shino Peters. Shino Peters, people call him star.
Till today.
Yeah. It's not film. It's not like this star in film.
I put out.
Shino Peters is the actual first star.
I put out a tweet maybe 2 days ago, and I said it's been 35 years, and it's still almost impossible to accurately describe what Shinomania.
You cannot.
Like you
can't.
It's hard, So I hope that I have time to do it. I hope that even he commissions, something of sorts. Why I was happy was a lot of the things that he shared on Dele Adinoju's interview, Agbaletu. Shout out to him, by the
Shout
way.
out.
A lot of things we owe him a lot. Yeah, Dele Adinoju. We owe him a lot for unearthing these stories and telling them, having people tell
I
us.
have deep respect for him.
People don't agree with his style. It's fine.
I'm even more opinionated than he is. I don't think he really gives opinion.
No, they will just ask you and wait for you.
I feel like if I was doing what he was doing, I would be more because I have opinions and I'm going to say my opinion.
Exactly. So a lot of things that Sashino Peter said on that podcast were things that he had told me in 2016 that was like, he doesn't want it to be out there because, some of the involved parties might feel a way. So when it was that open, I was like, oh, okay. I'm happy to hear that. And then this is last podcast. He said from the beginning, I'm going to be open and tell you whatever. I don't think the host knew enough to ask him for more. But I digress. I'm of the opinion that we need to document stuff. Perhaps it's for my training as a journalist. Perhaps it's for my vocation as a media executive. You've got to document stuff because things are happening so fast that before you blink, it's gone. So there's a need for us to build permanence. A quick example I tell people was when Elon Musk took over Twitter. Altered the algorithm. When Facebook did their pivot to video and pivoted from it again, businesses crashed, because those were the things that they were on. So I feel like there's a need for permanence in our stories. Let people write books. Let people do research. Why K1? It's subjective, but I think he's the greatest Fuji musician.
I don't think it's so.
It's subjective. People have told me somebody else is, other people are, and I respect it.
Well,
let me put a proviso.
It depends on how we now define great.
Exactly. The only proviso that I have is that I do not include the late Historian Jide Barrister in these rankings. He's not here to defend himself. K1 has lived longer than he did. Barrister died at 62. K1 is turning 69 next year. So he's had that advantage. It's almost kind of like Jay-Z and Biggie. Jay-Z has outlived Biggie and has done more.
So when you say greater, how do you define that?
So I don't, that's the only proviso. I don't include Barrister in any Fuji ranking. Is deified. However, everybody else, nobody has had the longevity.
Can you give me water? Don't cut. Just give me water. Don't cut it. Just give me water.
Your mouth is dry.
Yeah.
You got my needle.
So just bring water and glasses. But don't worry.
It's part of
It's
it.
part of it.
Yeah, Mofeko T. Kinian. If you look at everybody else in Fuji music, nobody has had the longevity of K1. Nobody has had the evolution of K1. Nobody has had the star power that K1 has had. And for me, it was worth taking a look at. And then I'll share something with you that I haven't told a lot of people outside of my immediate circle. When I started thinking about this book, I wanted it to be an official biography of his, that he would tell the stories. Because I've interviewed him a number of times. I've been around him a number of times. I think I understand him to a certain extent. People say that he's proud and he looks a certain way. People have different looks. And if somebody is said to be proud and he has relationships that last 30, 40 years, maybe you're not his friend. Maybe that's why you can't see that part of him, right? So my initial plan was it to be an official biography. We spoke about it briefly, but maybe the timing did not align and all of these things. But I'd developed an outline of what I wanted his biography to be. So I decided to carry on with it to explore why it's such a cultural phenomenon, the things that he has done that makes me think is this thing, right? I'm open to other people giving me, oh no, 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 no. And I've heard it since the book has come out. No, now how can you say this? How can you say that? I'm like, yeah, I'm looking at it from a cultural lens and my own experience as a media personality, as a media executive, to say, okay, how did this person get here? What and what did he do? What are the things that you can credit him for, right? So it's kind of like that. It's unlikely, and again, because it's not a hagiography for sure. It's not like Omo is the greatest ever, but it's not very critical and it's deliberate. I It's deliberate in that I don't want to elicit controversy just for the point of it. Do you get what I mean? I don't want people to read it and choose sides and say, no, 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 you said this, no, you said that. I just wanted a cultural, exposition of what is done. So that's the long and short answer of YK1.
So what are the things? Because obviously I know that you before you wrote about the book. First of all, did you speak to him before writing it?
No, I did not. I did
But I
not.
know you have seen him after the book, right?
Yes. I let him know that this book is happening. Again, because I know him and he recognizes me. So I didn't want a again, because I know him, I didn't want him to discover it on Instagram. So I felt like, and the few times that I've spoken to him, he's been very gracious, he's been very warming. I mean, warm, So I didn't want to just put it and then he'll see it on the internet. I felt like I owed him, that much. So I did not speak to him before writing a book. There was a bunch of research, there was crate digging, there was, archival stuff that I considered in assembling it.
What did you killer discover that people me mugging back in one?
What did I not know? What did I not know? The tension between him and Barrister. And I didn't expand a lot on this in the book again because Barrister is no longer here. And every time that K1 speaks about Barrister is with a lot of respect. So whatever it is, I don't think it's important at this point. But the tension between somebody that's the protege that now decides, you know what, I'm going out on my own. The tension between when Barrister was an extremely, extremely humble person. There's a song, Ewoni Kingi Kingi, Ewoni Kingi Kingi. He didn't want to be addressed as king of something. He didn't want to be addressed as this. He explained Fuji garbage as saying, you know what, abuse me, I can take it. That was Barrister's type of thing. So if Barrister's peers were abusing him for wanting to be the king or leader, and his own musical son now describes himself as king, there will be a certain level of how from where to where. One of the videos that I saw, and I've seen it go viral a few times, was somebody interviewing Barrister about a few years before he died
In the car.
in a car.
Yeah.
It wasn't even a proper interview. I got corner on it. And was asking him, okay, Wasiu Joba, you more. So that tells me that he may not have been angry because you cannot be angry with your child, and they always refer to themselves as father and son, whatnot. But there was a tension there, So I found out all of those things, and again, Barrister till he died treated K1 like his son. This one that has been dead all these 15 years, when K1 speaks about him publicly, he's like, no, this one, that one, that one. So, yeah.
Yeah. So Do you? Because I'm
Sorry,
not.
no.
No, because I'm not ready. Move
No, go on.
spouse. Because the barista K1 thing
Yes.
it's a funny relationship.
Yeah.
In terms of what I found out.
Mm.
But K1 was not a band member
Was not.
for barista.
No, it was not.
It was somebody who was looked at barista as somebody that was so good, and I just want to be like this guy.
So here is the thing, yeah. So imagine Barrister being a superstar in Lagos when there were no telephones, no Instagram, no nothing. So imagine how a young K1 will know of Barrister. Any inquiry. And then will see him in their neighborhood.
I mean, they were both from Lagos Island.
So by that time,
Barista had left Lagos Island.
Barrister was not even Lagos Island per se. He used to go to Lagos Island for competitions and all of that. So yeah, that's how you get to know Alele. But K1's, the thing about role models, right? Yes, K1 had his father, but there were a lot of children. Had plenty of Adugbos. But the person that resembled the life that he wanted for himself at that time was Barrister.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like he went to do internship. He went to
Understudy.
offer himself like, I'm here, I'll do whatever is required of me.
Yeah.
So a lot of people say it, in a, I'm looking for the English now, like it's something to be ashamed of. And I've seen people say, no, Kilo Loche, a lot of Barrister. And to me, if somebody, for whatever reason, went to do Omoshe with Barrister and was able to morph that into the icon that he is now, then that's an incredible arc in your story. If you can make yourself, hard work, grind, innovation, and move yourself from somebody that was not a band boy. And my question to people is, okay, so it was not a band boy. What happened to all the band boys? Where are they?
Lord, I feel like K1 himself, he says it in some way that, you know how Bashiwa, a man faking a pure. K1 is like, ọ̀gá mi lele, láì fi nǹkan kan sí. So ọ̀gá mi lele ṣùgbọ́n. So nǹkan táwọn èèyàn máa ń fẹ́ ni pé kó sọ pé bàbá mi ni tó, and leave it at that. But even if K1 would say things like me lọ́kọ́ṣẹ́ orin lọ́dọ̀ Barrister, I think that statement me lọ́kọ́ṣẹ́ orin lọ́dọ̀ Barrister, maybe I don't agree with it. Why? Intention láti bẹ̀rẹ̀ may not be mo fẹ́ lọ kọ́ṣẹ́ orin, because I don't even think wọ́n kọ́ṣẹ́ orin. But I think it's just like music in terms of intellectual property, in terms of music. When people say nobody writes for me, nobody does anything for me kì í gbà. Except if this song, it came to you by yourself in your house, recorded it yourself, did the beat, mixed, master by yourself, and then nobody listened to it. You just sent it and it got to Spotify.
Right.
But you see, the moment one person listens to it, it's no longer, you cannot, obviously it's you did the main job, but people would participate in the collection of that music and the process of that music. It says that just because nobody writes for me, but somebody could have said, the way you raise your voice, that place, you know, good. If you raise and calm down, in a normal society, that person has party.
I mean, so I don't think in terms of K1 and Barrister.
So what I was going to say for K1 and Barrister is that in the process when he was there, he would have learned things.
By all means.
So to say that me kọ́ṣẹ́ orin, maybe it's correct to say me ò lọ kọ́ṣẹ́ orin, but eventually ó kọ́ṣẹ́ orin because he learned the music process again.
So semantics is semantics. To be honest, you and I care because I tell my kids, say what you mean. Like, don't assume that I will think it for you. Say it how, so I care about semantics in that regard. However, he did not law or cautionary because by the time before he met Barrister, he was already winning local competitions himself. So clearly there was some level of talent there, right? And meeting Barrister, I don't think, and in my research, I didn't see it anywhere that he performed with the band or had a musician role within the band. So in that regard, it's correct. If somebody is working, yes, he might be gleaning things here and there. Okay,
Because he used to do Parker at some point.
yes, but also bear in mind that he had begun his relationship with the late Olubadan.
Yeah,
around that time, Obasaliu Adesunji. He had begun a relationship at the time with him. In fact, he became shadow Barrister Day. He wanted Abioro and them to sign him, but he couldn't have known what was going on. Abioro was fighting with KSA. Barrister 2 was not completely very fairly treated by African Songs Limited.
Yeah.
So there was no way they were going to look in his direction. And then the Adesunji Omoaje, before he became Babalaje, was in Lagos Island. So yes, Barrister represented the success that he wanted to emulate, but there were other elements around that helped him to be able to deploy whatever he learned with Barrister. But I don't think it's an argument that K1 can win, because it's like LeBron James. No matter how LeBron play, there will always be somebody saying, he ain't MJ. It's not Michael. Michael Jordan would not have done this. That's where I think K1 is. If K1 plays too much, I mean, I saw somebody say the other day that K1 was at Lagos Island. They had a performance. And somebody said, we're telling us Lagos Island. What has it done to Lagos Island? And I'm wondering, Lagos Island has had government authority since 18 something. Why is it gotta be K1? So I don't think he can win. I think it's one of the things that he too